Lu Muyen took Yan Jun's little bell in her hand and played with it. She found that an array was added to it. So it turned out that the so-called soul attack was caused by the array. She discovered that Tianling continent used arrays in many areas, and it was even more perfected than the immortal cultivation world, even if there were very few array masters here. You're also an array master? Lu Muyen shook the bell and looked at Yan Jun with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. Yan Jun knew that she wasn't interested in the other magic tools, so he put them away. I know a little. Mo Ling is the master of arrays. This soul-attacking array being integrated into this defense-type bell sure is interesting. She said with a light smile. You know how to refine tools? Yan Jun asked in surprise. Lu Muyen shook her head, only know the surface of things. How about this saint tool? To exchange for your pills? Yan Jun asked with a smile. It's alright. How much do you want to trade it for? This little bell wasn't very useful to her, but it could be given to her elder brother as a defense-type magic tool. Yan Jun thought about it and said, how about 5 of the spiritual recovery pills and the elemental nurturing pill each? The value of magic tools and pills varied from person to person, and it wasn't a loss to exchange 10 grade 3 pills for a defense-type saint tool that could also attack. Deal. Lu Muyen took out 2 white porcelain bottles and tossed them to Yan Jun. She had refined a lot of pills earlier. Seeing her so straightforward, Yan Jun couldn't resist but ask, young Miss Lu, just how many grade 3 pills did you refine? This sentence also implied a slight test. If Lu Muyen answered directly, then it meant that these pills were indeed refined by her. Have I told you that I refined these pills? After I give you 10 pills, I don't have much left either. Lu Muyen shrugged and said casually. Yan Jun wanted to trick her for her words, but as if she would be fooled. Then that's really a pity. Yan Jun hooked his lips into a devilish smile. Young Miss Lu can find me if you want to exchange pills for spiritual stones or magic tools whenever in the future. Our Yan clan still has this resource. Sure. Then I'll go first, see you in the finals. Lu Muyen said as she looked at the color of the sky. When Yan Jun still had a heart disease, he could still advance to second place in the preliminary round. Now that his heart disease had been cured, then after advancing to Sword Sovereign in the next month or two, there was no suspense at all whether he would enter the finals or not. Alright. When the finals are over, I'll go back to the Empire and give you the remaining spiritual stones. Seeing that Lu Muyen was so confident, Yan Jun knew that she had the means, and it wasn't difficult for her to advance into the finals. It's a promise. I'll take my leave. Lu Muyen chuckled lightly, then disappeared at the entrance of the cave after using flash steps. Seeing her leave, the mature and composed man behind Yan Jun said, she seems to be so sure that she can advance into the finals. It's not that easy to compete for the purple jade tablets. Yeah. As far as I know, many people had set their minds on her and Chu Han. After all, they were also rewarded with purple jade tablets after entering the top 10. Another man said. Yan Jun hooked his lips into a wicked smile, maybe she would rather they come to snatch hers. Well, just have to wait and watch a good show. Lu Muyen, this woman, hid herself very deeply that even he couldn't understand her. He sure was looking forward to meeting her in the finals. He believed she would definitely give people constant surprises. Hopefully. Because Lu Muyen cured Yan Jun, the others had a better impression of her. When Lu Muyen returned to the cave, Lu Mubai and the several others all withdrew from cultivation, and was relieved to see her return. Yenner. This is a class 2 danger zone. If you go out and run around and encounter a tier 7 demonic beast, then it'll be dangerous. Lu Mubai said with slight worry. With a thought, the tier 7 mystic striped tiger appeared in the cave. Elder brother, I've already encountered a tier 7 demonic beast. This is its corpse, so you don't have to worry about me. The several people were stunned and they saw the tier 7 demonic beast that had no aura on the ground. Lu Muyen could actually kill a tier 7 demonic beast. This kind of progress was beyond their reach. After more than a month of cultivation, Yi Qinghan had already integrated the Yi clan's secret skill and broken through to Sword Sovereign. He stared at the demonic beast on the ground with an obscure gaze, not feeling the best. He just thought that he was able to protect her, but she still surpassed him. He took a deep breath, still needed to work hard. The results of your cultivations in this period of time sure is good. You've all made breakthroughs. Lu Muyen swept the few people with her gaze and said with a smile. Yun Zimo's cold and stiff face softened a lot, with gratitude in his tone. It's all because the effects of your pills were good, that's why we can advance so quickly. Lu Muyen gave them 10 elemental nurturing pills each before their seclusion, making them utterly stunned, and at the same time, their cultivation bases were also firmly consolidated and promoted. He had a good feeling about Lu Muyen, but he knew that such a woman wasn't someone he could control at all, and it would be difficult even to stand shoulder to shoulder with. Her achievements wouldn't be limited to the eastern region. After this time's Tianling Continental Tournament for hegemony was over, she would definitely have a broader space to display her abilities. He could only silently hide his feelings for her. Wishing her well was enough. Alright, stop being so humble. Are you going to all continue to remain in seclusion, or are we going to go compete for jade tablets? Lu Muyen asked with a light smile. Let's remain in seclusion a little longer to improve our cultivation base a little more. It'll still be hard to meet sword masters from other kingdoms even if we go out now. Yun Zimo replied. The sword masters from other kingdoms who entered the semifinals were basically all lurking in cultivation in the first 3 months. It was a waste of time for them to go out, and it was better to improve their cultivation now quickly, than contend for a place in the chaotic battle in another 2 months. Lu Muyen nodded. Your choice is right. Muyen, what are your plans? Yi Qing Han just felt that she wouldn't obediently cultivate in the cave until 2 months later. Although this area is dangerous, but there are quite a lot of spiritual herbs and spiritual items. I want to go find them while cultivating. I'm used to cultivating in battle, so that I can also advance. Lu Muyen added with a smile, while you're all cultivating, you can also go to nearby places to challenge some demonic beasts that are higher in cultivation base than your own. This won't only improve your cultivation base faster, but also give you stronger combat experience. Alright. What she said was what they were thinking too, but if they went with her, they would only be holding her back, so they could only let her act alone. Lu Muyen and the several people chatted for a while, then began to go into seclusion again. She took 10 elemental nurturing pills and advanced her cultivation base to advanced phase Sword Monarch before she began to stabilize it. A month later, she left the cave. Owner, are we going to challenge some tier 7 demonic beasts in the mountains? Bing Ji appeared excited. The crystal core of the tigress was refined into a pill by Lu Muyen. After he took it, the demonic energy in his body grew much denser. If he got more crystal cores of tier 7 demonic beasts to refine into pills, he believed that after the seal was broken, he could advance to peak phase tier 8. Miao Miao and Shui were also looking forward to it. Their cultivation speed was astonishingly fast with the help of pills, and also wanted to try to battle tier 7 demonic beasts. Miao Miao was now in late phase tier 6 and Shui also broke through to peak phase tier 6. As long as he consumed the blood essence of 2 tier 7 demonic beasts, he could advance. This was also one of the reasons why Lu Muyen acted now. Of course. This is our inexhaustible resource treasury, and below is our battlefield. A brisk smile flashed past Lu Muyen's eyes, and with a flash, she entered the depths of the forest. In the following month, Lu Muyen took her spirit pets to challenge tier 7 demonic beasts' territories, successfully attracting the attention of the king of the forested mountains. In the Class 2 danger zone, under an abyss filled with a black aura, and in an underground demon's cave with abundant spiritual force. There was a cyan-bearded old man sitting, with a man and a woman standing below. King, recently a human woman in the forest has killed no less than 10 of our tier 7 demon cultivators. The woman with some slender red snakes coiled atop her head spoke first, revealing great respect to the old man on the seat. The cyan-bearded old man looked calm, raised his head, and asked, what is the strength of the dead tier 7 demon cultivators? And what cultivation base is that human woman? Reporting to King. All those who died were demon cultivators at initial phase tier 7. According to the investigation, the woman was only an advanced phase Sword Monarch. The woman's face was a bit grim. Those trash were truly shameful. The skinny man beside her had a grave look in his eyes. She should be the human sword master who used arrays to trap and kill demonic beasts. Lu Muyan's reputation had long passed into the ears of many demon cultivators, and she was most famous for her array that trapped beasts. It doesn't matter if she is that person or not. Since she dared provoke us on our mountain, she naturally couldn't be let out alive. The woman snorted coldly. The skinny man said nothing and looked directly at the old man above. The old man stroked his cyan beard and smiled lightly. Let her keep messing about. We'll settle all the accounts together during the Great Decisive War. Monarch had told them long ago that they were not allowed to kill the genius sword master of the humans in person before the Great Decisive War. Since the human female sword master could kill initial phase tier 7 demon cultivators, even if he sent out peak phase tier 7 demon cultivators, she could still escape even if she couldn't defeat them, so why bother? If she accidentally killed a few late phase tier 7 demon cultivators, then their class 2 danger zone would fall behind during the Great Decisive War. King, then do we just forget about it? The woman obviously didn't want to be passive about this. Don't mention this again. As long as she doesn't take the initiative to provoke you, then you're not allowed to act. The cyan-bearded old man's eyes turned cold and warned. The woman took a deep breath, then muttered beneath her breath, yes. She really couldn't figure out why they wanted to let the human sword cultivator go. The tier 7 demon cultivators who were killed were all fools. At this time, she desperately hoped that the woman would take the initiative to provoke her. After leaving the demon's cave, the skinny man said to the woman before leaving, for now, let's concentrate on cultivating and wait for the Great Decisive War between humans and demons this time. Humph, you don't have to pretend to be kind. The woman turned her head away and ignored him. The man shook his head speechlessly, then disappeared into the sky in a flash. The more the woman thought about it, the more it annoyed her. Her eyes were grim, and she finally turned into a red light and went in Lu Muyan's direction. She just didn't like a human, female cultivator being arrogant on their territory. At this time, Lu Muyen and Bing Ji, who had transformed into his original form, were guarding outside a bush, waiting for Shui to advance. After swallowing the blood of a few tier 7 demonic beasts, Shui finally broke through the shackles of tier 6 and entered tier 7. Waves after waves of spiritual energy surged and gathered, preparing for the advancement. The woman felt the fluctuations of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and accelerated her speed. After an hour, Shui's body was completely tempered, his roots were countless times larger, and the golden color of the main branch was even purer. Owner, I succeeded. Shui said excitedly, speaking human words. Demonic plants and demonic beasts were different, as they could only speak the human language at tier 7, but couldn't transform into a human form. Only when he reached tier 8 could he transform into a human form, which fully reflected the difficulty of cultivating for demonic plants. Not bad. You can also take the pills I made before too. Lu Muyen smiled in a rather good mood. The pills she had previously refined with the crystal cores of tier 7 demonic beasts were only suitable for demonic beasts above tier 6, otherwise the violent energy would be detrimental to their body, so neither Miao Miao nor Shui could take it. Humph, humph. He'll be entering tier 7 soon too. Miao Miao stuck out a small head and said determinedly. Now she had the lowest cultivation base among all the spirit pets. She didn't want to be the bottom at all. Bing Ji rolled his eyes. Little guy, your cultivation speed is already heaven-defying, all right? The little white Jiao's cultivation speed was the fastest he had ever seen. How long had it been since she followed owner, and she had already advanced from tier 2 to late phase tier 6. If this news was spread, how could the other demonic beasts live hearing that? Even he was jealous and envious, yet who would have thought that this little thing would still not be satisfied? Sure enough, as the owner was abnormally monstrous, none of the spirit pets who followed her were useless either. He secretly decided that he couldn't be too bad either, and wouldn't be lazy in the future. Miao Miao will advance very soon. Isn't there a ready-made resource sending themselves to our door? Lu Muyen sneered and looked at the sky in the distance. As expected, a moment after her voice fell, a red light dashed over and fell in front of them, turning into an exceptionally enchanting woman. Shi Ji scrutinized the purple-clothed woman opposite with disdain in her eyes. You're that human sword master who keeps slaying tier 7 demon cultivators in our forest. So what if I am? Lu Muyen raised an eyebrow with her arms folded. The demon cultivator opposite was a late-phase demon cultivator of the snake race, which was a bit tricky, but they were still sure to win. It just so happened that Miao Miao needed a tier 7 snake race crystal core to assist in her advancement, and this demon cultivator came at just the right time. What arrogance! Today, I'll toss you into a snake nest to taste the feeling of 10,000 snakes eating your heart. Shi Ji snorted coldly. A beautiful smile bloomed on Lu Muyen's stunning face, as if a lovely poppy that carried poison in its beauty. I sure want to try it. Shi Ji's eyes grew cold, and she took the lead in launching the attack. Her mouth moved, and one only heard chi-chi sounds. Then countless red snakes quickly slithered out of the mountains and slithered towards Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen swept the snakes on the ground casually with her eyes, then with a thought, a wall of fire suddenly rose from all sides and engulfed the little snakes that came flying over. Shi Ji was stunned for a moment. She obviously underestimated Lu Muyen's strength. The coldness and killing intent in her eyes grew stronger and stronger. She turned into a giant red snake with a pure red body and flew over. Her snake eyes looked at Lu Muyen insidiously. You're lucky that you can make me reveal my true form to kill you. Lu Muyen smiled in amusement. I don't know why you think so highly of yourself. Revealing your true form to kill me, do I have to thank you for that? Humph. Shi Ji didn't say much and swept her tail violently and heavily down at Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen flew out of the way, and 10 golden swords rose into the air, turning into a golden arc, slashing towards the tail of the snake. Shi Ji was a late-phase tier 7 demonic beast after all. Although her body was huge, but it was extremely flexible. She avoided the sword arc and opened her mouth, biting towards Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen stepped on the golden swords, and her hands were covered with a layer of light red before throwing out punches. The fighting intent in her body was aroused. At the same time, a group of people not far away were rushing towards the direction they were fighting. Master, the snake we were looking for is fighting with a human sword master. One of them said excitedly. The lips of the handsome, black-clothed man in front raised in an arc. No hurry. Well, be that Oriole today. There being an unfamiliar aura approaching, both Lu Muyen and Shi Ji had discovered it, but it was impossible for them to join forces. They could only kill each other as soon as possible and wait to see what the hidden person wanted to do. Lu Muyen originally wanted the newly promoted Xue Xue to fight against Shi Ji to train his combat ability, but she dismissed the idea after discovering the group of hidden people. Shi Ji was strong. If she didn't play her trump cards, then she could only barely tie with her. She had the ability to skip stage battle, but unfortunately, not only was the opponent's bloodline pretty good, but she was also late phase tier 7. It wouldn't be easy to kill. Owner, let us join the battle and make it quick. Bing Ji swept the position of the team with a chill in his eyes. Lu Muyen nodded, then let's gang up. In the battle earlier, she already found the feeling and skills of fighting with late phase tier 7 demonic beasts, so she didn't need to continue. It was only right to save some energy to deal with the few lurking human sword masters. The eyes Bing Ji looked at Shi Ji with were as if she had already become a pill. He spread his wings and flew high, waving his wings to continue to form and shoot endless ice arrows with boundless ice element attribute. Miao Miao was also not to be outdone. She flew out from Lu Muyen's wrist and turned into a huge, purely white python, opened her mouth, and a mist that could slow down movements sprayed out. Shi Ji was startled. She obviously didn't expect that Lu Muyen's 2 tier 6 spirit pets abilities weren't inferior to initial phase tier 7 demon cultivators. She glared and said, "You are such a shameless human. If you have the ability, then fight me one-on-one." She could only tie if she fought against this human woman alone, and she completely underestimated the strength of her opponent. Lu Muyen chuckled and said sarcastically, "You're an idiot, aren't you? Spirit pets are also a part of my strength. I'll only be a fool if I slowly mess with you." While she spoke, the movements of her hands didn't stop. 10 golden flying swords quickly formed an 8-trigram sword array and surrounded Shiji, slowing her dodging speed and narrowing her range of movements. Soon, Shiji, who couldn't escape and inhaled the poisonous gas from Miao Miao, was shot by the ice arrows of Bing Ji, and countless bloody holes caused the pure red snake scales to fall. Shiji shrieked. She opened her mouth and a venom with a strange fragrance burst towards Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen was not only not afraid, but her eyes were instead filled with joy. She didn't expect that the venom sac of this snake demon was mutated. She had big use for it. She didn't greet the venom. A red fire lotus with a trace of purple gold fell from her hand, and after spinning a few times, it absorbed and swallowed all the venom. As the venom was swallowed, the fire lotus exuded a nice fragrance and gradually disappeared in the air. Shiji's eyes revealed horror. Because of the close quarters combat and her sensitivity to spirit flames, she obviously discovered that there was a trace of spirit flames hidden in the fire lotus condensed from elemental energy. Her venom sac was her trump card and ultimate move, but she had a single nemesis, and that was spirit flame. Just you wait, you'll definitely be killed in this space during the great decisive war, Shiji said viciously. Then her huge body shrank bit by bit into a red snake with the thickness of a finger and flew away in the opposite direction, clearly trying to escape. There's no need to make it during some sort of great decisive war. Today it'll end you. Lu Muyen wouldn't do anything like returning a tiger back into the mountains. A glint flashed past her eyes and 10 flying swords turned into a golden stream of light, darting out instantly, as if they had been prepared for a long time, and slashed straight towards the weak point of the little snake. Shiji was shocked and barely avoided the stream of light, but her weak spot was also sliced open around a third into her skin. But she had no intention of continuing to fight, and she had even less desire to take revenge for the scratch. She just wanted to flee quickly and go back to find backup. Even if she couldn't kill Lu Muyen this time, during the great decisive war, she definitely would kidnap her into a snake nest to be devoured by tens of thousands of snakes. Insidious hatred rose in her heart, while Lu Muyen wouldn't let her leave even more. A wall of flames erupted from before Shiji and perfectly blocked her way. Shiji gritted her teeth. Seeing that there was no spirit flame she feared in the wall of fire, she wrapped her entire body with demonic energy and wanted to dash straight through the fire wall. At this moment, Bing Ji, who was ready to act, opened his beak and a dark blue beam of light shot out of his mouth, aimed directly at Shiji, who was about to dash through the wall of fire. Shiji hated inwardly and used a secret skill to strengthen the hardness of her scales. Her shrunken body suddenly grew larger and slammed heavily onto the wall of fire. Then a golden sword light shot out from underground right when she was about to escape using her last trump card and sliced her snake head down. In an instant, Shiji stared with wide eyes, and her snake body and snake's head separated as her aura gradually disappeared. Before she died, there was only one thought in her mind: why didn't she listen to the advice before she came, otherwise she wouldn't have given her life in vain. But unfortunately, it was too late. As soon as Shiji died, Lu Muyen used her flash steps and dashed over. At the same time, a figure also sprang towards the direction of the giant snake. Clang! Then only a loud sound of weapons meeting each other was heard. The two figures stopped over Shiji's body, each holding a long sword. Obviously, the loud noise just now was the sound left by the two when they fought. Your honor wants to snatch my prey? The man opposite was tall, handsome, and had a noble aura. Most importantly, he looked somewhat similar to Ji Yu, and Lu Muyen could guess who he was at a glance. Ji Xian stood in the air, like a sword that was about to be unsheathed, temporarily restraining his sharpness. Mrs. Overanxious, this one merely wants to make a deal with you. Is this how you do business with someone? Lu Muyen sneered, her voice cold. What? Your mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the Oriole behind plan failed, so now you want a force to sell, powerful to buy. This one just wanted to stop you from taking this snake demon and make a deal with you peacefully, with no intention to force a deal. Even if he had any thoughts of seizing it by force at first, when Shiji died, he had dismissed those thoughts completely. How do you know that I will agree to do business with you? Lu Muyen said lightly, folding her arm. Ji Xian's handsome face revealed an obscure smile, and instead of answering, he asked, I wonder if Miss name is Lu Muyen? Since you know, why ask? Although the opponent's elder brother and his elite team didn't die directly in her hands, but she also caused their deaths, so it was normal for Ji Xian to recognize her. I was merely uncertain. I didn't expect you to really be Lu Muyen. Ji Xian saw her use the fire wall array with ease, plus the 10 famous golden sword array, so he guessed that she was the one who killed his scheming eldest brother and was also one of the hot dark horses in the continental tournament for hegemony. Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen observed that there was no hatred in Ji Xian's expression, and his gestures were as calm as if nothing happened, without even a trace of killing intent, so she had a guess. Do you want to avenge Ji Yu? She asked, sounding him out. Ji Xian's originally waveless eyes revealed some ridicule. He's worthy? Ji Yu's mother secretly killed his empress mother, and Ji Yu had been plotting to kill him since he was a child. If it weren't for the great opportunities and luck, he would have died in one of the countless assassinations. How could he possibly avenge that person? Only pitted that he didn't personally finish Ji Yu. As expected, you two brothers are at odds as rumored. Although Ji Xian hid it well, but Lu Muyen still caught the sliver of hatred in his eyes. Ji Yu's temperament was grim and ruthless, and he was relatively narrow-minded. He must have made things difficult for, or framed, Ji Xian numerous times, otherwise this man with the same deep scheming wouldn't reveal such hatred. Ji Xian didn't care what Lu Muyen thought of the feelings between them two brothers and said bluntly, I actually want to thank young Miss Lu for killing him. You're welcome. I also think he's not pleasing to the eye. If Ji Yu was compared to Ji Xian, she would indeed be more disgusted with Ji Yu. Ji Xian in front of her made her feel a little harder to see through, and she didn't feel much dislike in her heart towards him, but she wouldn't underestimate him, still cautious of him acting against her. This man definitely already turned black one. Young Miss Lu sure is an interesting person. Ji Xian found that Lu Mu Yen wasn't like any of the women he had ever known, neither cold nor tender, nor cruel or arrogant or imperious. In short, she made him unable to see through her. Lu Mu Yen swept the few people who walked out of the woods behind with her gaze, then looked at Ji Xian deeply and asked, "Just tell me what business you want to do." She discovered that the several people exuded a feeling as if they were searching for this tier 7 snake demon for a while. Young Miss Lu is indeed a refreshing person. Ji Xian said with admiration in his eyes, then went straight to the point, "I want the snake's gallbladder. If young Miss Lu could severe your love, I am willing to pay a sum of spiritual stones, and other things too, as long as I have them. Can I ask why you want the snake's gallbladder?" She didn't have the thought that she must have the snake's gallbladder. She had planned to use it to make wine, but she didn't quite like the bitter taste. "My master is a spiritual wine master. Before entering the competition space, he ordered me to collect snake gallbladder of high-level demon snakes. It was only because we found the trace of this Shiji did we enter here." Ji Xian said with a light smile. It was just that they never thought that Lu Mu Yen would arrive first. Lu Mu Yen raised her eyes and looked at him with a smile that wasn't quite a smile, saying, "So that's how it is. I'm not interested in it either. How many spiritual stones will you give?" Ji Xian was at Sword Sovereign Cultivation Base, and there was also another member at Sword Sovereign Cultivation Base in the team. The rest were all peak phase Sword Monarch, so if they really fought, then it'd definitely be more difficult than dealing with Shiji. She considered the snake gallbladder dispensable. As long as these people didn't want the crystal core and venom sac, then it was fine for her to take a step back. How about 10,000 spiritual stones? Ji Xian knew there was a possibility of obtaining it after hearing her say that. Although Lu Mu Yen was only alone, but, although the spirit pets around her were all tier 6, they all possessed tier 7 combat strength. It was said that there was even a blood-sucking spirit pet that had not appeared yet. Taking it by force was the very last resort. It was nothing if it could be exchanged for money. Lu Mu Yen raised an eyebrow, 20,000 spiritual stones. Take it if you want it, or if you don't, then I won't be accompanying you any further. If one could make a fortune, then it was a fortune made. The auction in the central area was about to be held, and she doubled the price because she also wanted to show that she wasn't soft, only too lazy to fight them. Don't be insatiable, 10,000 spiritual stones is already our master giving you some face. Face. A man behind Ji Xian looked at Lu Mu Yen angrily and said, "What qualifications did an advanced stage sword monarch have to bargain with their master? If it weren't that she killed Ji Yu, and there were even the spirit pets by her side, then they would have already fought." Ji Yu furrowed his brows slightly and used his gaze to stop the other people who wanted to say more. Sure enough, as he thought, Lu Mu Yen snorted coldly and was about to collect the snake on the ground, looking as if she was saying that she didn't care whether they wanted it or not, what would they do about it, and that if they wanted to fight, then they'd fight. "Young Miss Lu, do you think this snake gallbladder is worth 20,000 spiritual stones?" Ji Xian said with a smile, his expression unchanged. Lu Mu Yen found that his self-restraint was indeed much stronger than Ji Yu. "Isn't it worth it? This snake gallbladder isn't an ordinary snake gallbladder, but a gallbladder derived from a snake whose internal organs have mutated. If it's used to make spiritual wine, then its effect would be equivalent to that of a tier 8 demon snake's gallbladder. Can I take a look?" Ji Yes' eyes flashed with surprise. Lu Mu Yen hadn't even seen the snake's gallbladder, so how did she know it was mutated? Sure. Aside from the venom sac and the crystal core, the internal organs of this snake can also be given to you as a gift, but it cannot be a cent less than 20,000 spiritual stones. Lu Mu Yen said generously. The corners of Ji Xian's lips twitched. What did he want those internal organs for? She said it as if she were so generous. After seeing that Lu Mu Yen used the flying sword to take the crystal core and venom sac from the giant snake and put it away first, he used his long sword to open the snake's belly and picked out the snake's gallbladder for a closer look. He was also a spiritual wine master himself and had followed his master to make wine with snake's gallbladder all year round. He recognized at a glance that this was a mutant snake's gallbladder, and he couldn't help but think more highly of Lu Mu Yen. Young Miss Lu is also a spiritual wine master? He looked up and asked. Is whether I'm a spiritual wine master or not related to our transaction? Lu Mu Yen replied with a smile. Ji Xian lowered his head and smiled. This woman sure was very wary of him. Sure. 20,000 spiritual stones, deal. I want the snake's gallbladder and these internal organs. The internal organs of snakes can also be soaked in wine, but its effect just wasn't as good as that of snake gallbladder. However, these internal organs were all mutated, so the effect should be better than that of tier 6 demon snake's gallbladders. He was also somewhat interested in the snake's venom sac, but it could be seen from Lu Mu Yen's appearance that she paid more attention to the crystal core and the venom sac, so he gave up. Lu Mu Yen nodded. Then you can take it all, but the body of this snake won't be given to you. After taking this snake's scales back and ask a leather armor master to refine it into a defense-type leather armor, it could arm her family in the Lu clan, so she naturally wouldn't give it to Ji Xian. Ji Xian looked at her in amusement and said, "Don't worry, I'm not interested in the snake body." Although the snake scales were good for refining, but he didn't want to fight with Lu Mu Yen because of something that he didn't need to have, just for the fact that she thought Ji Yu wasn't pleasing to the eye and killed him, so he treated her with a good feeling. Then, he immediately put 20,000 spiritual stones in an interspatial bag and tossed it to Lu Mu Yen. Lu Mu Yen took the interspatial bag but didn't check it, and just put it away. She had already swept over its contents with her mental energy, so she wasn't worried that he would deceive her. Seeing that Ji Xian had taken away the internal organs and snake gallbladder, she also put the corpse of the giant snake into her interspatial ring. Prince Ji is also a refreshing person. I'll look for you if I have any business to do in the future. I'll leave first as I have some things to do. Lu Muyen didn't want to stay here any longer. Ji Xian's expression was sincere. All right. Hope to see you later. After Lu Muyen's figure and aura completely disappeared in this section of the forest, the man behind Ji Xian who had spoken before asked, Master, are we just going to let her go like this? One became. Seeing Lu Muyen leaving safely, the rest of the team were rather surprised as to why Ji Xian let her go so easily. This was not his style of doing things at all. Ji Xian glanced at the person who opened his mouth and said, her strength isn't as simple as it seems. Her demonic plant who can suck human blood had already been lying in ambush not far from us, and it will definitely be us who will suffer if we fight. She really has a demonic beast that can suck blood essence? Another member from a distinguished clan asked in surprise. Lu Muyan's reputation had gradually grown in the competition space, 1 because her points soared in the preliminary round and eventually entered the top 10, and 2, because her talent in arrays was excelling, being able to trap demonic beasts and be unafraid of beast tides. And even after the preliminary round, news of her had never ended. Many people had spread rumors that she had a demonic beast that sucked blood essence. After all, each time a beast tide was annihilated, all the corpses of demonic beasts were presented to have had their blood dried. Although they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, but everyone all speculated such. But they were all dubious. After all, rumors were often not all true. It's not a demonic beast, it's a demonic plant. Ji Xian's deep eyes revealed a strange look, and if I judged correctly, her demonic plant just broke through from tier 6 to tier 7. What? The people behind Ji Xian couldn't help but exclaim. They knew about the fourth prince's shrewdness and abilities. If he didn't have confidence in something, he wouldn't say it easily. Demonic plant's cultivation was 100 times more difficult, that's why at the same level, a demonic plant's strength was much stronger than that of demonic beasts. Demonic plant spirit pets were extremely rare on Tianling continent, and tier 7 ones were even unheard of. They really didn't expect that a woman with only sword monarch cultivation base to have such a spirit pet. Ji Xian glanced at them and smiled lightly, saying, and you may have all overlooked a more important issue. She has at least 3 spirit pets. What does this mean? Could she be a spirit beast master? A team member blurted. On Tianling continent, a sword master who wasn't a spirit beast master could only contract 2 spirit pets at most with the help of a spirit beast master. Even strong sword venerable powerhouses and above were no exception. Therefore, Lu Muyen, who had 3 spirit pets, must be a spirit beast master. Ji Xian's expression was obscure and said leisurely, she has excelling talent in arrays, and is also a spirit beast master. If we don't kill her, then that's that, but if we kill, then it was necessary to end her life completely, otherwise there will be endless troubles. We simply don't have the confidence to take her life today, so it would be better to befriend her than to forge grudges. Only such would be a good deal. Then he added. He also suspected that she was a spiritual wine master, and even if she wasn't, she still knew about brewing spiritual wine very well, otherwise she wouldn't know the brewed effects of mutant snake gallbladder and internal organs. Fourth prince is indeed wise. That pupil of a distinguished clan wasn't a fool either. They had no grudges or grievances against Lu Muyen, so why would they forge a feud with her? Even Ji Yu, that powerful hypocrite, was defeated by her. They really couldn't only look at the appearance of her cultivation base. Ji Xian smiled without care, turned around, and walked towards the depths of the forest. Let's look for the other tier 7 snake demon from the intel. Yes. If Lu Muyen heard the conversation between Ji Xian and the several people, she would be extremely surprised. After all, Shui was well hidden and there wasn't any aura revealed at all. Unless one was a powerhouse above sword venerable, then they wouldn't be able to detect anything. Ji Xian was only at sword sovereign cultivation base, so him being able to find the human-eating bloodthorn vine king meant he definitely met with some fortuitous opportunity or had a special ability. At the same time, a cave in the depths of the abyss, a skinny man who was sitting cross-legged and cultivating suddenly opened his eyes. He took out a red scale from within his pockets at his chest. The originally lustrous scale suddenly dimmed and the demonic energy on it was instantly lost. With a vicious look in his eyes, he muttered to himself, little sister is dead. That human woman really dared to kill Shiji. When the great decisive war began, he must drag out her soul to pay homage to little sister. Lu Muyen didn't know that she was now a target of a snake demon at peak phase tier 7. Even if she knew, she would simply hope impatiently for the snake demon to come quicker. The more crystal cores of snake demons for Miao Miao to promote herself, the better. After returning to the temporary cave that was opened up, Lu Muyen took out the crystal core of the tier 7 demonic beast to refine into a grade 4 pill that would be beneficial to the advancement of a demonic beast's cultivation base. Only when her fire elemental energy reached peak phase sword monarch could she refine grade 4 pills, but if she used the purple gold spirit flame, and with her rich experience, she could still refine a grade 4 pill now. First, she didn't take out the crystal core of the snake demon to refine, but instead took the crystal cores she obtained previously and after failing once, she successfully refined it. Miao Miao also used the special effects of the pill to reach peak phase tier 6. As long as she took the pill refined from the snake crystal core, at an opportune moment, she could advance to tier 7. Time passed in the mountains quickly while cultivating. Although Lu Muyen was still thinking about the Scarlet Bee nest, but she also felt that it wasn't time to go get it, so she could only temporarily give up. After cultivating in the mountains for more than 3 months, the cultivation bases of the 2 teams had all improved a lot. Lu Mubai and Yun Zmo had successfully reached peak phase sword monarch using their talents and the pills given by Lu Muyen. They could surely return to the Empire after the competition with Sword Sovereign cultivation bases. Let's hatch a plan to snatch the identity jade tablets. Lu Muyen suggested. Yi Qinghan smiled and asked, let's hear your plan. Since she said that, then she must have a plan in her mind. We don't have to go find sword masters from other kingdoms to snatch at all. Let's guard a stump and wait for hares to bump into it. Lu Muyen replied. Yunzi Mo was silent, then asked, how do we guard a stump and wait for hares to bump into it? After I advanced into the top 10 in the preliminary round, I'm rewarded with various colored jade tablets. Many people from the elite teams of superpower kingdoms and large kingdoms would be unreconciled, so they would definitely take the initiative to find me and snatch my jade tablets, depriving me of my qualifications to enter the finals. Well, spread the news that I'm at a certain place somewhere, and it'll naturally bring people to come. And our two teams only represent a small kingdom and medium kingdom, plus our overall cultivation bases don't seem to be very high. So when we encounter sword masters from large kingdoms, they will definitely act first, so well just fight back. Most importantly, the red jade tablets in our hands are even rarer than the purple jade tablets. If we want to enter the finals, we must hold 7 kinds of jade tablets. They'll attack us even simply because they have to. Lu Muyen spoke her thoughts. She was certain that each time they released news at a different location, there would definitely be people who would take the initiative to deliver themselves to their door. That's a good idea. The others' eyes lit up. The people who entered the semifinals were basically all sword masters from large kingdoms and superpowers kingdoms, with very few from small and medium-sized kingdoms. After the semifinals, these people from small kingdoms were also the first targets for sword masters from large kingdoms to clear out of the competition for the red jade tablets. They believed that at this time, countless people had already started plotting against them. After all, there was little porridge and many people. There were not even 500 people holding red jade tablets, and the organizer will use various methods to make up for the shortage of jade tablets, such as the top 10 in the preliminary round being rewarded with 50 jade tablets each. So although the quota for the finals was 500, but there may not be 500 people entering the finals. The several people discussed countermeasures in detail, then left the mountain together to set up camp near the central city, guarding a stump and waiting for hares to bump into it. An idiom meaning to trust luck or wait idly for opportunities to appear themselves. Lu Muyen and the others cultivated in a canyon near the central city, waiting for the fish to be hooked on the bait. Sure enough, after the spread of information from scheming people, their news quickly spread to the ears of the elite teams of various kingdoms. Leader, we've already received news about Lu Muyen. Is the news reliable? Absolutely reliable. She and the 2 teams from small kingdoms are staying in Reed Wind Grand Canyon. Go and assemble the people to set off quickly, better not let others snatch the jade tablets first. Yes. Such conversations resounded in various places within and outside the city. In the private room of Stream Reflection Restaurant. Luoli repeated the news he had obtained to the rest, then looked at Luoyi with a slightly worried look. Elder brother, so many people want Lu Muyen's jade tablets, why don't we also go to the Grand Canyon to help her? Si Nan's team had just returned from outside the city, and they came to the restaurant together after meeting Luoli. There was also worry in his eyes. No need, if we go, we'll only cause trouble. Luoyi said lightly, playing with the moonlight cup in his hand. Luoli furrowed his brows, how could it be causing trouble? She purposefully lured those people there. If we go and scare them away, you better be careful not to get beaten by her. Luoyi said slowly. Luoli was startled for a moment, then the corners of his lips twitched. If he really ruined that woman's plans, then he might really be beaten. Elder brother, you mean that she deliberately lured those people there? Why did she do this? Luoli asked. Si Nan looked at him with a you're an idiot gaze. Lu Muyen, that little fox, definitely wants to lead those people to come to her door to send her their jade tablets. After listening to Luo Ye's words, he also understood. With Lu Muyen's intelligence, how was it possible for everyone to know where she was hiding? He couldn't think of any other purpose other than to snatch jade tablets. Luo Yi reached out his hand and patted his younger brother's shoulder. You're confused in your worry. Lu Muyen had so many different colored jade tablets in her hands. Those people of the elite teams from large and middle kingdoms didn't dare provoke them, but they dared to snatch her. Even if those people realized that she was releasing the news on purpose, they still wouldn't give up the idea of robbing her. Then why don't we go and take a look? If there are too many people, we can go snatch some along the way. Luo Li and Lu Muyen had been separated for several months already, and a feeling of longing that he had never felt before rose in his heart. Luo Yi sighed. Younger brother was really sinking in deeper and deeper. Alright, as you like. Si Nan also wanted to see what tricks Lu Muyen wanted to play, so he decided to follow them secretly. Helian Lai, Yen Jun and Mo Ling also shared the same thoughts as them. On that day, Lu Muyen and the several others were cultivating when suddenly, an unfamiliar elemental energy fluctuation broke the calm of the canyon. They're here. Lu Muyen opened her eyes and said with a smile. Yi Qinghan and the others were also looking forward to this, and it seemed that they were exceptionally eager for it, having long been prepared. Their plan was very successful. As expected, 2 elite teams from large kingdoms arrived and entered Lu Muyen's soul-disorienting array. She had now been promoted to Advanced Phase Sword Monarch, her spiritual energy was even more dense, and she could also set up Grade 3 arrays to besiege and confuse enemies. Arrays were also divided into grades on this continent, from Grade 1 to Grade 9. Array Masters Grade 4 and above were all targets to win over of various forces in this world, and exceptionally rare. In the soul-disorienting array, those sword masters would lose their senses for an incense stick of time, and in the array, Lu Mu Yen also incorporated Miao Miao's venomous gas, making them move very slowly. Soon the jade tablets of the previous groups of people were easily removed by them, and they hardly used much combat power. Mu Yen, your method of guarding a stump and waiting for hairs to bump into it is very useful. Yi Qing Han said after taking off the jade tablet of the last opponent's sword master. Lu Mu Yen said with a smile, it was they who acted greedy first, we just fought back. They lured those people into the soul-disorienting array, then after they were caught in Miao Miao's venomous gas, they moved slowly, allowing them to enter into the array to snatch jade tablets. However, she didn't intend to kill. After snatching the jade tablets, they didn't hurt or kill anyone, only waiting for them to be automatically teleported out of the competition space, then they continued to lure the second wave of people in. We obtained a lot of jade tablets today. This is indeed much faster than us taking the initiative to attack. Yunlan said with a smile. Lu Mu Yen nodded. More people will eventually come too. Inside the central castle. The elders of the 6 major sects couldn't help holding their foreheads when they watched Lu Mu Yen lure their enemies into the depths of their arrays. How did this girl's brain grow? She could even think of such an idea. Did she get inspiration from when she was besieging the beast tides? This way of guarding a stump and waiting for hairs to bump into it is fast, accurate and ruthless. The elder of the sword sect revealed some admiration in his eyes. The eyes of the strong and sturdy elder of the 8 extreme sect lit up brightly. It's more than good. This was simply too good. If he wasn't mistaken, Lu Mu Yen arranged a grade 3 array. Such talent would even be comparable to the older pupils who had cultivated arrays for many years from their 8 extreme sect. The other people glanced at the excited 8 extreme sect elder with disdain. Even if he's that excited, she still wouldn't go to their 8 extreme sect. Although they used tricks, but they didn't snatch the interspatial rings of the loser or cause any massacres. Their hearts and temperaments are indeed rare. The medicine sect's elder smiled kindly, and his satisfaction with Lu Mu Yen's sword. The elder of the beast tamer sect nodded and said, she is indeed a good seedling. Not only Lu Mu Yen, but also Yi Qing Han, Lu Mu Bai and Yun Zi Mo are very good. He had already chosen Yi Qing Han. If he could reach the top 100, he would let him directly enter as an outer core pupil. Lu Mu Bai and Yun Zi Mo had good talents and temperaments, but unfortunately, they didn't have the expertise in taming beasts. But that was fine too, it was only right to net them all in since they're good seedlings. Although the 6 major sects each had one profession that was particularly outstanding, but within their sect, they also had other cultivation options. For example, the beast taming sect also had branch departments in arrays, alchemy, and smithing, among which there were many well-qualified pupils. Yun Zi Mo's path of the sword is righteous and in line with our sword sect. If he can enter the finals, then we won't be humble and will accept him. The elder of the sword sect said. Hearing him say that, the other elders weren't disapproving. The sword sect liked Yun Zi Mo, then if Yun Zi Mo really went, they didn't lose much either, unlike them contending for Lu Mu Yen. Our heavenly secret palace wants that boy, Lu Mu Bai. The wise-looking elder from the Heavenly Secrets Palace said with a smile. It was just that the others didn't agree with his words. Lu Mu Bai was Lu Mu Yan's elder brother. It might affect Lu Mu Yan's choice. When the time came, they would definitely have to fight for him, not to mention that Lu Mu Bai's talent and potential also deserved their attention. Let's see how the dark horse named Chu Han is doing. The elder of the vast mountain sect suggested with a smile of interest. The elders of the other sects also revealed interest. Apart from Lu Mu Yen this time, Chu Han was also the dark horse they wanted to compete for. The elders of the 6 major sects had already begun to discuss the home of the pupils, while Lu Mu Yen and the others ushered in a new enemy. Previous chapter. On this day, another wave of people were trapped in Lu Mu Yan's array. This is the soul disorienting array. The leader of this elite team said cautiously. One of the men furrowed his brows and said, I only saw her fire array before, who would have expected that she would know other arrays. The leader of the team sneered, since she's extremely talented in arrays, it's naturally impossible for her to only know one type of array. Then what do we do? Fortunately, Luo Yi and the others didn't continue to follow her, otherwise it'd be even more troublesome. The man said irritably. He was the one who proposed to go snatch Lu Mu Yan's jade tablets. If something went wrong, the second prince would definitely blame him. Lu Mu Yan stood outside the array, observing the situation in the soul disorienting array. When she saw the person speaking, her eyes narrowed dangerously. It seemed that this elite team from Rongzi Kingdom was being instigated by Luo Qinghe. How could there be no reason to eliminate such a low life when he sent himself to her door? What's the hurry? Don't forget that the second prince is also an array master. The older man behind Luo Qinghe reprimanded. He was extremely disgusted with Luo Qinghe. He was a pupil of a branch of the Luo clan who they spent a lot of resources to support, and he was fortunate enough to follow Luo Yi and Luo Li as a guard, yet he actually rebelled. Who knew what the second prince was thinking to accept such a low life? Luo Qinghe glanced at the man and snorted inwardly. When he's become important to the second prince, this person would be the first person he'd get rid of. The 7 of you, go stand in those positions each. Take this with you. When I say begin, channel your elemental energies together. The second prince handed 7 black stones into the hands of the several people and pointed in several directions as he ordered. Ancient Chinese compass often used for feng shui related things in modern day, I think. Yes. The 7 people took the stones and immediately stood where the second prince pointed. The second prince himself held a compass and looked around for a breakthrough point gravely. Only when he entered the array did he discover that it was actually a grade 3 soul disorienting array. Even as a grade 3 array master, he wouldn't be able to arrange it. If it weren't that he had the array breaking talisman from master, he really didn't dare to be careless. Outside the array, Yi Qinghan and the others saw that the several people were different from the others. Not only did they not panic nor run around, but instead they calmly began to break the array. He asked with furrowed brows, Mu Yen, do you think they can break the array you set up? Should be able to. Lu Mu Yen stared at the compass in the second prince's hand. He's holding a high-level array breaking tool, which should have been bestowed by a senior. He probably also knows other means. He's the second prince of Rongza Kingdom. His master is a grade 4 array master. Mu Yi said. Lu Mu Yen thought about it and asked, is this second prince at odds with Luo Ye's team? The second prince's wife used to chase after Luo Li frantically. Then her clan forced her to marry for connections to the second prince. Mu Yi paused, then added, I heard that the relationship between the two wasn't good after they got married. The second prince also often finds trouble for Luo Li. It's no longer a secret that when the two meet, they get into a fight. Lu Mu Yen said with amusement, so it turns out that the wild little cat also has women pursue him crazily. The several people's eyelids couldn't resist jumping when they heard how she addressed Luo Li. Luo Li was a well-known little overlord of Rongza Kingdom. His identity was comparable to a prince of the royal family, and his own talent and strength was also very strong, so he could naturally attract countless women to pursue him. Even the second prince wouldn't dare to give him huge trouble. Only Lu Mu Yen would dare to treat Luo Li like that. Most importantly was that Luo Li obviously had the tendency of a masochist. It was probable that even if Lu Mu Yen beat him, he'd endure it with a smile. Boom boom. Suddenly, a few dark clouds floated over in the sky, and a few lightning bolts landed from above. Prepare to fight. Seeing that after the second prince took out a red talisman and released it, it attracted thunder and lightning to break the array. Lu Mu Yen knew that the soul disorienting array would soon fail. Those that have spirit pets, release them. We're gonna gang up. Since the last time she beat Shi Ji using a gang fight, she had fallen in love this crude way. One was a fool if they had spirit pets and didn't use them. After speaking, she released Miao Miao and Bing Ji to turn into their original forms and wait, while Shui turned into a golden seed and fell to the ground, waiting to ambush. The seven people's lips twitched. They found that Lu Mu Yen was growing more and more violent. Was this really good? However, they didn't think too much. Everyone released their spirit pets, and the lowest was middle phase tier 6. Many were also subdued and contracted with Lu Mu Yan's help. When Lu Mu Bei's mountain-moving beast came out of the spirit beast ring, he wanted to show off his might, but when his gaze accidentally landed on Lu Mu Yen, his might instantly withered a lot. Oh. Late phase tier 7 already. Lu Mu Yen looked at the large and tall mountain-moving beast with a nitpicky gaze. The mountain-moving beast was a little apprehensive about this little abnormal monster, but he couldn't weaken the might and aura of a demonic beast. He toughened his head and glared at Lu Mu Yen, saying, this is because my talent is extraordinary. Didn't this damned woman look down on him even back then? If it wasn't for my elder brother's light, do you think you could have advanced so quickly? Lu Mu Yen rolled her eyes at him. That sky-rank skill that Lu Mu Bai had couldn't only nourish the blood spirit to battle, but it could also improve the innate physique of spirit pets through their bloodline. This mountain-moving beast got a bargain. That's because my owner's amazing. The mountain-moving beast had now sincerely surrendered to Lu Mu Bai, so he revealed a proud look. Inwardly, he was also grateful to Lu Mu Yen. If it weren't for this woman, he wouldn't have met such a good owner either. Seeing that he was completely, willingly submissive now, Lu Mu Yen was quite satisfied. She took out a bottle of pills and threw it over. Hurry up and improve your strength, you better not humiliate my elder brother's reputation. Lu Mu Bai looked at her in amusement. The pampering in his eyes couldn't be concealed at all. In fact, the talent of the mountain-moving beast was really very good, especially his defensive ability that was rather powerful. The mountain-moving beast huffed, then took the bottles. But when he only just opened it, his eyes were practically glued to it. Then he immediately poured out one and gobbled it up excitedly. Good stuff. Do you have any more? Give me some more. The mountain-moving beast looked at Lu Mu Yen, asking with bright eyes. Even the other people's demonic beasts stared at the pill bottle on the big hands of the mountain-moving beast. Just by smelling that fragrance, they knew that the pill was beneficial to improving their cultivation base. Lu Mu Yen looked askance at him. You want pills? Well, talk about it when you perform well. The skin of this mountain-moving beast was indeed as thick as his stone skin skill. Miao Miao and Bing Ji were in a rare moment of unification, glaring fiercely at the mountain-moving beast. Those were the pills that owner had prepared for them. This ugly monster really had thick skin. The mountain-moving beast rolled his eyes and quickly put away the pill bottle. There were still 2 pills in it. He didn't miss the gazes that were staring at his pills like wolves and tigers. Listen carefully. If anyone can snatch a purple jade tablet from a human sword master in the array, for each one, it'll reward you with 1 such pill. The more you can snatch, the more pills. Don't miss out on such a chance. Lu Mu Yen swept over the more than a dozen demonic beasts present with her eyes and encouraged. When a high reward was offered, brave men would come forward one. It was also time for these demonic beasts to gain some experience. When the other demonic beasts saw the mountain-moving beast put away the pills, their eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. So when they heard Lu Mu Yen say this, they all stared fixedly at the sword masters that were about to break the array as if they were given a stimulant. Lu Mu Yan's lips rose in an arc. She sure was somewhat expectant to see these demonic beasts show their might. Boom. With the array-breaking talisman in the hands of the second prince luring 7-colored thunder clouds to constantly bombard the array, the grade 3 soul disorienting array that Lu Muyen arranged was broken in a short while. However, the several people in the array were also a little rugged. They were not only affected by the lightning strike, but also because of Miao Miao's poisonous fog, their movements became groggy. As soon as the array was broken, the second prince came out first. He was not affected because he had a high-level array-breaking magic tool in hand, and he also had a treasure that could avoid poisoning on him. "You're Lu Muyen?" He saw the beautiful woman standing among the group of people and demonic beasts at a glance. She wore a light purple dress that wrapped her elegant body, her facial features were exquisite, her skin seemingly so bouncy that it could pop, and although not deliberate nor conscious of it, but her body exuded an otherworldly temperament. No wonder even that rash fellow Luo Li would be so enchanted by Lu Muyen. Even when he saw her, he couldn't resist but want to take her into his imperial harem. Lu Muyen replied lightly, Lu Muyen, what do you plan on doing? Why did these people always like to ask whether she was Lu Muyen or not every time? It really was annoying when they knew the answer. "Hand over the jade tablets on you, and I won't trouble you," the second prince said as he patted his brocade robes. Lu Muyen chuckled, and looked behind him, saying, "Just with how you guys are right now." The second prince turned his head and swept his gaze over the several people in his team, then said indifferently, "It's enough with only me." The opponent only had one sword sovereign cultivation base sword master, plus Lu Muyen who knew how to arrange arrays and a few sword emperors. Their overall strength was weak, and he didn't feel that he needed to be afraid of anyone. "I see." Lu Muyen dragged her words, then glanced at the demonic beasts behind her and said, "You all going up or not? Don't you want pills anymore?" Roar. The dozen or so demonic beasts who already couldn't wait any longer all rushed up, pouncing towards the second prince and the others. Yi Qing Han and the others weren't idle either. Although they didn't want the pills, but they didn't want to make any mistakes either. Since Lu Muyen asked them to gang up, then they'll gang up. The second prince obviously didn't expect her to make such a move. While taking out his magic tool to resist, he looked at Lu Muyen with a displeased expression and asked, "What do you mean by this? Do you have bad eyes? Naturally, we're ganging up." Lu Muyen's red lips parted lightly, leaving the second prince speechless. What way of fighting was this? With so many demonic beasts and sword masters coming together, did she still want any face? "You are all so despicable." Luo Qinghe's shirt was torn open by Yi Qing Han's chi and the 5 bloody claw marks were very deep. He shuddered in pain and glared at Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen had a ridicule on her lips, "There's no need to be righteous against a villain like you. Besides, we're ganging up, if you're not reconciled, then try it yourself." Pu. Luo Qinghe's eyes revealed ruthlessness, and just as he was about to attack Lu Muyen, he was slapped far, far away by the mountain-moving beast from behind, spitting blood. Seeing Luo Qinghe staring at him, unreconciled, the mountain-moving beast was furious. He walked over and it was another few more slaps, but this time, Luo Qinghe was prepared and barely avoided his attacks. On the entire battlefield, only Lu Muyen leaned against a large rock leisurely, watching over the fight between the two groups languidly. When Luo Li and the others arrived, what they saw was precisely such a scene, and they couldn't resist twitching the corners of their lips. This woman was changing up her tricks to play people again. But they didn't reveal themselves, and merely hid to watch the battle not far away, just in case they went out and scared the several people away. The second prince's combat power was indeed very strong, and Yi Qing Han, who had already advanced to sword sovereign cultivation base, wasn't his opponent. Of course, Yi Qing Han was a spirit beast master, and his combat power had to be combined with his spirit pet to achieve the greatest effect. However, Qi was only at peak phase tier 6, and was still not enough to fight against the second prince. Lu Muyen took out a few rounded jade stones and tossed them in the direction of the battle casually as she formed seals with her hands. Not long after, she snapped her fingers and a cluster of flames leapt out from her fingertip. As soon as the cluster of flames fell into the battle area, it instantly activated the fire elemental array within the jade stones. Several walls of fire erupted from the ground, instantly separating the people who were ganging up on them on the battlefield. Although Yi Qing Han was at a disadvantage facing the second prince, but he wasn't seriously injured, nor was he defeated. There was a hint of admiration in Lu Muyen's eyes. She pinched a few Taoist seals, and numerous fire lotuses floated out from the fire wall, blocking in front of Yi Qing Han. A violent sword aura swung over by the second prince was blocked by the shield wall composed of fire lotuses, and Yi Qing Han took the opportunity to launch an offensive. Lu Muyen directed the fire lotuses within the array that came and went leisurely to cooperate with Yi Qing Han's attack. Gradually, the fight became evenly matched against the second prince. The others, however, were pretty worse off. Because they had been poisoned by Miao Miao's poisonous gas, even if the effect didn't last long, but it was enough for the group of demonic beasts who had gone crazy for pills to gang up and finish them off. Not long after, they screamed pitifully and fell to the ground in extremely embarrassing states, and their purple identity jade tablets were snatched away one by one. Among them, Luo Qinghe had it the most miserable. He was beaten to the ground by the mountain-moving beast, laying there and spitting blood, but the sinisterness in his eyes wasn't concealed too much because of his pain. Lu Muyen's eyes revealed a chill and she telepathically transmitted to Xue, "Drain the blood essence of that man." "Yes, owner." Xue had long been unable to wait. When he heard the order, he immediately stretched his vines out surreptitiously under Luo Qinghe, and when no one was paying attention, he stuck his vines into his body and began to suck. Not long after, Luo Qinghe's eyes went black, and he died quietly with an expression of disbelief and inexplicableness. Even at his deathbed, he didn't know what was sucking his blood essence. After the others and the demonic beasts successfully snatched the jade tablets, they all flocked to surround the second prince together, and regardless of anything, all took action. The second prince was attacked by enemies on both sides, so even if his combat power was amazing, he couldn't stand the ganging up of so many high-level sword masters and demonic beasts. After a while, he accidentally injured himself. With the first injury, more injuries came constantly. Then his back was hurt by a sword aura, and he said to Lu Muyen angrily, "Stop fighting. Hurry up and tell your people to stop." He sure could see now. Lu Muyen was the head of this group of people and demonic beasts. This sure was the first time he had ever been so embarrassed before. Luo Li pursed his lips not far away. Who does he think he is to ask for people to stop and they'll stop? Lu Muyen will ignore him. Si Nan held his golden foil folding fan and fanned himself in a frivolous manner. Although he couldn't see through Lu Muyen, but after being in contact with her for so long, he still knew a little bit about her. If she could be threatened like this, then she wouldn't be that arrogant and unrestrained woman. As Si Nan expected, Lu Muyen glanced at the second prince and sneered, "I have the final say on the rules right now. What right does the defeated have to call for this to stop? If you have the guts, then fight me one-on-one." The second prince was barely able to avoid the sword auras and claws that kept attacking with a trace of exhaustion and anger. Lu Muyen raised an eyebrow in disapproval. "Why should I foolishly waste time fighting one-on-one with you for something that can be resolved quickly by ganging up? Do you think I'm as stupid as you?" The second prince had a mouthful of old blood stuck in his chest, all because Lu Muyen angered him. Previous chapter. Watching the second prince be humiliated, Luo Li's handsome face was filled with smiles. "Lu Muyen, do you know who I am?" The second prince was slapped by the mountain-moving beast after being too slow to evade, and it instantly swelled up as he roared angrily. "You are the second prince of Rongzi Kingdom." Lu Muyen raised an eyebrow. "Have you been beaten, stupid? You're even asking such questions." The second prince was slashed by a sword aura on his chest, then he glared at her and said, "You know and you still dare treat me like Luthies? You want to snatch my jade tablets to kick me out of the competition space, but I have to take care of your emotions? Who do you think you are?" Lu Muyen rolled her eyes at him. Then she huffed coldly, "And I heard that you often bullied Luo Li back in Rongzi Kingdom? He's a person I'm covering for. If you mess with him, you mess with me. What's so good about Luo Li that makes it worthy for you to help him get revenge on me?" The second prince only now realized that him being ganged up on was partly also because Lu Muyen wanted to help Luo Li vent his anger. "I already said that I'm covering him, so in the future when you want to bully others, you better grow some eyes. I pay. Luo Li is just a little pretty face." The second prince really couldn't understand why so many women liked Luo Li, that kind of red-haired wild boy. Seeing his unrestrained expression, Lu Muyen said to the more than a dozen demonic beasts, "Keep beating him up for me, just don't kill him." Roar roar. Luo Li felt warm inside, but when he heard the second prince say he was a little pretty face, his expression darkened and turned his head, saying to Si Nan, "Aren't you and Helian Lai little pretty faces?" Si Nan sneered, "Don't worry, you can't be a little pretty face the way you are, the second prince is blind." He had to admit that Luo Li having Lu Muyen's protection made him feel a sour taste. "TSK, you're just jealous of this young master." Luo Li didn't miss the envy in Si Nan's eyes. Si Nan didn't bother paying attention to him and continued to watch the gang fight on the other side. Pu. The elemental energy in the second prince was depleted very badly. He took out a pill and prepared to take one. Yet who knew that he had yet to put it in his mouth when it was snatched away by a huge stone hand together with the bottle, and some random demonic beast even whipped its tail on his back. The mountain-moving beast had stayed in the competition space the entire time, and although he could be considered a king of a small portion of an area, but he had never eaten any pills. Ever since he tasted the sweetness of Lu Muyen's pill just now, he became extremely excited when he saw pills. He tossed the second prince's pill that replenished elemental energy into his mouth, then said openly with dissatisfaction after finishing, "This doesn't even taste that good. This human sword master's pill really was so much more inferior to that violent woman's. It only replenished a little bit of demonic energy, how boring." Pu. The second prince couldn't resist spitting out a mouthful of blood. This time, it was completely from being angered. Seeing all the demonic beasts so excited as if they had been given a stimulant, Yi Qinghan and the others withdrew from the battle and watched the fight on the side. With the group of demonic beasts led by the mountain-moving beast, a late-phase tier 7 demonic beast, it wasn't difficult to win the second prince that was already losing. Sure enough, the second prince, who was robbed of his pill, exhausted his elemental energy and was beaten by more than a dozen demonic beasts in turn. Luo Li's eyes brightened in the distance. Lu Muyen really is good. That bastard second prince also has such a day, how relieving. Si Nan's eyelids twitched, she's getting more and more violent. Lu Muyen instigating the group of demonic beasts to gang up the second prince made him feel pain all over his body when watching. Luo Li glanced at him, "What do you know? This is precisely her charm." Si Nan rolled his eyes speechlessly, but he agreed inwardly. No matter how rough and violent that woman Lu Muyen was, she was still so elegant and attractive. Yan Jun and Mo Ling had long since arrived to hide on the hillside opposite Luo Li and the others. Seeing the second prince swollen and bruised, their scalps were numb. "This woman really shouldn't be messed with," Yan Jun said in amusement. Luckily he didn't mess with her. Mo Ling's arrogant and solitary aura carried a slight distance from others, her points have already advanced to the top 100. Lu Muyan's points in the previous 3 months hadn't changed at all, but because of the Jade Tablet rewards for the preliminary round, her points remained in the top 500. Recently, many elite teams from large kingdoms had come here to find Lu Muyan and the others to snatch Jade Tablets, but were all counter-robbed. The purple Jade Tablets had the highest points, so Lu Muyan's points had skyrocketed again. Her goal is the top 10. Yan Jun's eyes were dark, and he asked Mo Ling, who wasn't far away, what's the background of that person named Chu Han? He's already reached the 20th place and his points also only started moving in the last half a month. Not sure. He and Lu Muyan are both the dark horses this time and I'm afraid they're our opponents for the top 3. Currently, Mo Ling had completely placed the woe of them on an equal footing with himself. Yan Jun raised an eyebrow, their strength is really good, but the skyrocketing points like Lu Muyan's is just a coincidence. The top 10 finals must be won through one's combat strength. Aren't you a little too worried? Aren't you thinking the same? Mo Ling glanced at him calmly, hypocrite. Mo Ling, I really can't hear anything good from your mouth. Yan Jun huffed. Aside from them, Ji Xian's men were also watching the battle not far away. Fourth Prince is truly wise, this Lu Muyan really isn't as simple as she seems. One of them said. Seeing the second prince beaten so badly by being ganged up on, their eyelids were twitching. I've got to say, her method of snatching Jade Tablets is very crude and effective. Ji Xian's eyes were filled with admiration. He knew that Lu Muyan was hiding very deeply, and she was probably not even revealing all her strength and trump cards. The corners of his lips rose. He really looked forward to meeting in the finals. Lu Muyan, just what do you want? The second prince's aura was a little weak right now. Those demonic beasts didn't use all their demonic energy under Lu Muyan's orders, but without elemental energy shields, he was beaten until he was in terrible pain all over. Lu Muyan blinked and smiled, Second Prince, I wonder whether you still want to stay in this competition space. Of course I want to. Just say what you want directly. First tell them to stop. The second prince wasn't stupid either. Lu Muyan let these demonic beasts attack him, but they didn't hurt his vital points nor snatch his Jade Tablets, which meant she must have a purpose. Lu Muyan clapped her hands and told the group of unsatisfied demonic beasts, stop. The mountain-moving beast kicked the second prince's leg once heavily before he left, muttering, we haven't even fought heartily yet. Lu Muyan looked at the sky speechlessly. Was it really alright for her to give such a violent demonic beast to her elder brother? The second prince cried out in pain. His leg was definitely broken by this damned demonic beast. We snatched so many Jade Tablets, take out your pills. The mountain-moving beast didn't care whether the second prince lived or died, and he approached Lu Muyan to ask for pills. The other demonic beasts also scurried over and stared at Lu Muyan with scorching eyes. Even Yi Qing Han's Golden Eagle King, Qi, was no exception. When the mountain-moving beast took the pill, he smelled the pill and knew that this was the opportunity he could take to break through to Tier 7. Although it was a bit embarrassing to gang up on a human sword master with the rest, but he'd go all out for the pills. Lu Muyan took out a few bottles of pills and stuffed them to Lu Mu by behind her, big brother, cash in these pills according to the number of Jade Tablets they snatched. Alright. Lu Mu Bai took the pills and said with a smile. Lu Muyan was too lazy to pay attention to the group of demonic beasts that were like wolves and tigers, and walked straight to the second prince. Previous chapter. Lu Muyan walked lazily to the second prince and squatted down in front of him. The second prince looked up at her defensively, his handsome face was ashen and on guard. She didn't care about his attitude either. She took out a bottle of grade 3 energy nourishing pills from her interspatial ring, poured one out and held it with 2 fingers. She shook it in front of the second prince and said, this energy nourishing pill has the miraculous effect of healing both external and internal injuries and costs only 10,000 spiritual stones. Do you want it? Promise you'll be cured. All the people present and those who were hiding and watching couldn't resist twitching their lips. They thought Lu Muyan was going to take care of the second prince personally, but who knew that she actually went to do business with him? A pill to treat internal and external injuries actually cost 10,000 spiritual stones? This was simply robbery in broad daylight. The second prince's whole body hurt so much that his face was even paler now. He smelt the pill fragrance and felt refreshed. He wanted it, but it was simply too expensive. 10,000 spiritual stones is too expensive. Not expensive. 10,000 spiritual stones is already cheap for you. If you don't want it, then whatever. Lu Muyan pursed her lips and was about to put the pill away. The second prince felt that his internal organs were in severe pain. He was extremely angered, but he still gritted his teeth and said, deal. Lu Muyan gave him a look as if to say you are indeed sensible, and handed the pill to him, you pay, they'll deliver. The second prince's face was completely sore, and his expression was blue and black. Did she think he'd cheat her or something? Give it to me first, I can't move right now. His whole body hurt so badly that he gasped whenever he moved. Lu Muyan wasn't afraid that he'd run away, and thinking of her future plans, she tossed the pill into his mouth. The pill melted the moment it entered his mouth. The second prince felt a coolness spreading throughout his body and the burning pain was indeed gradually lessening while his internal organs didn't feel that kind of pinching pain anymore. He moved his body and his eyes revealed surprise. Who knew that this woman's pills were really effective? But remembering that he spent 10,000 spiritual stones to buy it, his flesh hurt again. Seeing that the second prince had recovered a lot, Lu Mu Yen reached out her hand and patted his chest. A purple jade tablet leapt out of his clothes and fell into her hands. After the start of the semi-finals, the identity jade tablets of the contestants weren't allowed to be placed in interspatial spaces and could only be worn on their bodies. This was also convenient for snatching. She smiled sweetly and asked, "Do you still want to stay in the competition space to participate in the finals?" The second prince felt that although she smiled beautifully like this, but he still felt a little frightened inwardly. "Just what do you want? This purple jade tablet is mine now, right?" She asked with a raised arc on her lips and blinked. The second prince suppressed the blood that was creeping up his chest and his eyes grew more alert. "Since you snatched it, it's naturally yours. So what if I don't want to be teleported out of the competition space?" Lu Mu Yen didn't erase the identity imprint aura on his jade tablet, which indicated that she still had a purpose. After winning the opponent's jade tablets in the semi-finals, as long as one used mental energy to erase the identity imprint, the other party would be automatically sent out of the competition space. If it were snatched, but not erased, then that person could still remain in the space. "Naturally, it's because I want to do business with you." Lu Mu Yan's eyes curved, smiling like a sneaky cat. Seeing her smile like a flower, lively and cheeky, Luo Li and the others felt a strange feeling in their hearts. What business? The second prince was vigilant. This woman was definitely a tigress that didn't spit out bones after eating. "Do you think this identity jade tablet is valuable?" Lu Mu Yen asked instead. Hearing her question, as long as one wasn't a fool, one could guess her purpose. She was precisely asking for money. "How much do you want?" The second prince asked through gritted teeth. If spiritual stones were gone, it could still be searched for, but if he was teleported out of the competition space, then he would even lose the opportunity of entering the top 100. More importantly, it was too embarrassing. After returning to the empire, who knew how many people would laugh at him? Lu Mu Yen also expected this before she prepared to extort him. The second prince was still favored in Rongza Kingdom. Although he and Luoli didn't like each other, but it was only small fights and inconveniences. When he came into the array earlier, he didn't have much killing intent either, so he was probably only prepared to snatch jade tablets and didn't have any thoughts of killing them, otherwise she wouldn't just settle this with money. "How many spiritual stones do you think your jade tablet is worth?" Lu Mu Yen played around with the jade tablet in her hands and said with a smile, "If it's too low, you're also degrading your own personal value." The blood stuck in the second prince's chest almost spurted out. This woman was too shameless. He thought for a bit with a dark expression, then asked tentatively, 20,000 spiritual stones? "Pfft, so you're only worth 20,000 spiritual stones." Lu Mu Yen sneered, "Are you trying to send away a beggar?" She was saying 20,000 spiritual stones was enough to only send away beggars? The second prince was about to go crazy. "Then how much do you want?" Lu Mu Yen paused, then said, 50,000 spiritual sones, not a single cent less. "Are you robbing people?" The second prince was going to be frustrated to death. This woman was just robbing him openly. Lu Mu Yan's eyes narrowed with her smiles. "Hey, how did you know?" "I'm indeed robbing openly. Whether you want to give or not, a sentence is enough. If you don't want it, I'll erase your identity imprint. By the way, 50,000 spiritual stones also includes the cost of your destruction of my array. Such a cheap price and you're still trying to haggle. Are you a man or not?" Lu Mu Yen then added with disgust. It was 50,000 spiritual stones. Not 5 spiritual stones. What did this have to do with being a man? "I don't have that many spiritual stones on me anymore." The second prince thought a bit and sighed. Lu Mu Yen revealed a regretful smile, took out the second prince's teammate's purple jade tablets and began to erase the identity imprints on it. What a pity. The second prince thought that she was just scaring him, but when he saw the people behind him disappear from this space one by one, he couldn't help shuddering. This woman wasn't joking at all. When he saw that she picked up his jade tablet without hesitation and began to erase the imprint on it, he hurriedly shouted, "I'll give it to you." "What are you giving?" Lu Mu Yen stopped what she was doing and asked languidly. The second prince said with lingering fears, "I'll give you 50,000 spiritual stones in exchange for my jade tablet." "Now you've shown some bit of manly responsibility." Lu Mu Yen added with a smile, "Together with the pill I gave you earlier, it's a total of 60,000 spiritual stones." The second prince took a deep breath, otherwise he might not be able to resist the urge to strangle this woman to death. He took out a storage bag from his interspatial and tossed it to Lu Mu Yen with a cold expression, "Here." Lu Mu Yen casually swept over it with her mental energy and there were indeed 60,000 spiritual stones in it. He handed the jade tablet back to the second prince. "If you were more sensible earlier, then you wouldn't have been beaten." The second prince rolled his eyes. He wouldn't believe what this woman said at all. Lu Mu Yen, this cunning woman, had long set up a trap for him to fall into. Not only did she vent for Luoli, but she also extorted so many spiritual stones from him in broad daylight. She was truly good. "I don't want to see you anymore at all in the future." Lu Mu Yen stood up, raised an eyebrow, and said arrogantly, domineeringly, and wildly, "Don't want to see me? Then you can only pity that you won't even qualify for the finals because I'm bound to enter the top 100. After hearing her words, the people present and those hidden didn't have any doubts. With her current strength, she did indeed have a chance to advance into the top 100. Previous chapter. Next chapter.